By the end of 1966, the Beatles had reached a crossroads. For 4 relentless years, they had conquered the world from the stage, playing more than 1,400 concerts while living under the constant chaos of Beatlemania. Every performance was drowned out by deafening screams. The music they had worked so hard to create was becoming impossible to hear, even for the band themselves. Something had to change. Instead of booking another world tour, John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr made one of the boldest decisions in rock history. They walked away from live performance altogether. It was a gamble that would redefine not only their own careers, but the future of popular music. Free from the endless cycle of touring, the Beatles finally had unlimited time inside EMI Studios. Suddenly, there were no deadlines dictated by concert schedules, no pressure to recreate songs on stage, and no limits on how far they could push their imagination. They had already hinted at this new direction on Revolver, an album filled with tape loops, backward guitars, and Indian influences. But that was only the beginning. Now the studio itself became an instrument. The result would be Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, an album unlike anything the world had heard before. For producer George Martin, the project represented far more than another Beatles record. Looking back on the sessions during a 1971 interview with Melody Maker, he described the experience in unforgettable terms. That was an incredible thing, because it took on its own character. It grew despite us. It was a complete change of life, a very long and arduous series of recordings. Martin had been working alongside the Beatles since 1962 and had witnessed every stage of their astonishing evolution. Yet nothing prepared him for what happened during the making of Sgt. Pepper. The album seemed to develop a life of its own. Each recording session pushed the band further into unexplored territory. Songs were layered with orchestras, sound effects, tape manipulation, and ideas that had never before been attempted in mainstream pop music. Instead of asking whether a song could be performed live, the only question became whether it could be imagined. That freedom transformed everything. Martin believed the changing cultural atmosphere of the late 1960s also played a role. Psychedelia was sweeping through Britain, and the Beatles embraced its colorful imagination with remarkable enthusiasm. It was the beginning of psychedelia, Martin explained. They were ready for it creatively. They wanted something to blossom anyway. While he acknowledged that the band's experimentation with drugs influenced the album's direction, Martin never believed psychedelia alone created Sgt. Pepper. In fact, he argued that someone still needed to hold the entire vision together. "I don't think Pepper would ever have been formed in that way," he reflected. "I don't think it would have been coherent." That balancing act became one of Martin's greatest achievements. While Lennon and McCartney chased increasingly ambitious ideas, Martin translated those dreams into practical reality, ensuring that the album never lost its musical focus. The sessions demanded extraordinary patience. At times, he joked, productivity slowed because you can't do much with a guy when he's giggling all the time. Yet despite the long hours and endless experimentation, Martin understood they were creating something unprecedented. He later traced the album's origins back to one song in particular, Strawberry Fields Forever. To Martin, it was one of the best things they've ever done. Interestingly, he also noticed a subtle but significant shift taking place within the band's legendary songwriting partnership. While Lennon and McCartney had long been viewed as a single creative force, Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane revealed two increasingly distinct artistic personalities. Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane were done at the same time, Martin observed. One was very much Paul, and one was very much John. It was a glimpse into the future, a reminder that even as the Beatles reached unprecedented creative heights together, each songwriter was beginning to follow a unique artistic path. Nearly 6 decades later, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band remains one of the defining achievements in popular music. Its influence stretches far beyond rock, inspiring generations of artists to treat the recording studio as a place for limitless creativity. For George Martin, however, its legacy was even more personal. It wasn't simply an extraordinary album. It was, in his own words, a complete change of life.